Have you ever told everybody about a big dream, shouted it from the rooftops, felt that rush of excitement, and then somehow never actually did it? If that hits close to home, you need to hear this story. There was a young man named Simon who lived in a small town, and Simon had no shortage of dreams. Every single week, a new one was born. One week he was going to open a business. The next he was learning a craft. The week after that, he was building something from the ground up. Big dreams, bold ideas. Simon had them all. But Simon had one habit that was quietly destroying everything he ever wanted. Before he lifted a single finger, before he took one step toward his goal, he told everyone about it. He'd walk through town like he was making an announcement, chest out, voice loud. I'm going to open the biggest store this town has ever seen. And the people around him? They loved it. They clapped. They hyped him up. They told him he was going to make it. And in that moment, Simon felt incredible. He felt successful. He went to bed that night feeling like a winner. But when morning came and it was time to actually work, the fire was gone. Just like that. He never opened the store. Then came the next dream. He gathered people again, stood up tall, and announced he was going to master a new skill, become the best at his craft, build something the whole town would talk about. People cheered. People encouraged him. Simon rode that wave of praise all the way home, and then never touched the work. Days passed. Weeks passed. Years passed. Simon kept announcing. The town kept clapping. And Simon's hands stayed completely empty. He couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. He had the ideas. He had the drive, or at least he thought he did. But nothing ever got done. He felt ashamed. He felt stuck. Deep down, there was this growing heaviness that he couldn't shake, this sense that life was passing him by and he was just watching it happen. One evening, he was sitting alone by an old well at the edge of town when an older man came and sat beside him. This man was the kind of person who didn't say much, but when he did, people listened. He looked at Simon and asked quietly, "Son, what's weighing on you?" Simon let it all out. "I have all these dreams, but I never finish anything. I don't know what's wrong with me." The old man just nodded and said, "Tell me, what's the first thing you do when you get a new idea?" Simon didn't even hesitate. "I tell people. I want them to be proud of me. I want them to know what I'm going to do." The old man was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Come to my garden tomorrow morning. I want to show you something." The next day, Simon showed up, and the old man had 2 seeds in his hand. He gave one to Simon and told him to plant it in the ground. Simon dug a small hole, dropped the seed in, and covered it with soil. Simple enough. But then the old man took the second seed and did something different. He held it up in the air and called out to some kids playing nearby. "Hey, come look at this. This seed is going to become the most beautiful tree you've ever seen. Look at it." The kids ran over, oot and ahht, gave it all the attention in the world. Then the old man set the seed down on top of a rock and left it there, right out in the open, under the sun. Days went by. The old man watered the seed buried in the soil every single morning, quietly, without a word to anyone. Simon kept coming back to check on things. And slowly, a tiny green shoot pushed its way up through the dirt. Week after week it got stronger, taller, more alive. The old man never said a word about it. He just showed up and watered it. Meanwhile, the seed on the rock, it shriveled in the heat. Birds picked at it. It never moved, never changed, never grew. It was just gone. Standing there looking at that small but living plant in the soil, Simon felt something shift inside him. The old man spoke softly. "Simon, a seed needs silence to grow. It needs darkness. It needs to be hidden, protected from the elements, sheltered from everything that can take it, before it has the chance to become something real. The moment you leave it out in the open and start talking about it, it dries up, it gets taken. It never becomes a tree." Simon stared at that little plant, and the truth hit him like a freight train. The old man kept going. "Every time you announced your plans, You felt like you had already accomplished something. People's praise gave you the feeling of success without the work. Your mind got the reward early, so your heart had no reason to keep pushing. The energy that was supposed to go into building something real got spent on words instead. Simon's face flushed. He had been doing this his entire adult life. Every announcement felt like a victory. Every round of applause felt like a finish line. He never needed to actually complete anything because in his mind, in that moment of praise, he already had. The old man put a hand on his shoulder and said, "Dreams are fragile when they're young. They need to be protected. Keep them quiet. Let them grow in the dark soil of your effort. When the tree is strong enough, the whole world will see it, and you won't have to say a single word." Simon walked home that evening a different person. That night, he made a decision. He was going to try something new, just one simple small goal. He was going to build a wooden chair. He told absolutely no one. He didn't post about it, didn't bring it up at dinner, didn't hint at it to a single soul. He just started. Every evening after work, he slipped away to a quiet corner of his home and worked with his hands. Some nights he was energized. Some nights he was exhausted. But because nobody knew, nobody was waiting on him, nobody was asking questions. There was no pressure from the outside, only the work itself. Just him, the wood, and the time he was putting in. Weeks passed. The chair started taking shape. He made mistakes and he fixed them. He learned things you can only learn by doing. And then one day, it was finished. Simon sat down in that chair, ran his hands along the smooth wood, and felt something he had genuinely never felt before, real pride. Not the hollow kind that comes from talking about something. The kind that can only come from actually building it. His neighbor saw the chair sitting outside one morning and stopped cold. "Simon, this is incredible. When did you make this?" Simon just smiled. "I've been working on it." His neighbor looked almost confused. "You never said anything." Simon nodded. "I wanted to finish it first." Word got around, the way it always does in a small town. People saw the chair. They were impressed. They wanted to know more. But by the time anyone came asking, Simon had already moved on to his next project. A table this time. Again, silence. Again, just the work. Then a shelf. Then a stool. One finished thing after another, built in silence, revealed when complete. Years went by, and Simon became known throughout the town as a true craftsman, a man whose work spoke for itself. People respected him more than ever, not because of what he said he was going to do, but because of what he actually did. His whole life changed, not because his dreams got bigger, but because he stopped leaking them out before they had a chance to grow. So let me ask you something. How many times have you announced a goal and then watched the motivation just drain out of you? How many dreams have you shared too early, only to see them fade before you ever really started? When you give your plans away before the work is done, you hand over your power. You let other people's reactions replace your own effort. You trade the real thing for the feeling of it, and in that trade, you lose everything. Protect what you're building. Stay quiet about it. Let the work happen in the dark, the way seeds always have. Because the world doesn't need to know what you're planting. It only needs to see what you've grown. So the next time that urge hits you, that itch to announce your big idea, to get the rush of people's excitement before you've done a single thing, pause, take a breath, stay quiet. Let the seed go into the ground. Water it every day. Trust the process. Because when that tree is tall and strong, everyone will see it. And you won't need to say a word.